Hello and welcome to a new colouring video. I'm going to do another page from the Johanna Basford Magical Worlds, which is her brand new book. I want to do watercolour, and I'm going to give the Daniel Smith Transparent Watercolor Ground another go. I did try it a few years ago and I didn't like it. I found it really grainy, but I do quite like grainy watercolour now. So I think I might like it, so I'm going to try it again. So I just need to decide what I'm going to do. I did do that page a couple of weeks back and that's on my channel if you want to watch that video. I did that in watercolour and chroma flow coloured pencils. Do you know what? I really like this one. I might do this. Yeah, like some parts it goes on thicker than others. Right, I'll let that dry and then I'll do another layer. I'm going to use some granulating watercolours. These are the White Nights ones. So I'm going to use them on the background area. So I do want kind of like a really dark background, possibly bluish. And I'm going to mix a couple of these different colours. So I think I'll use these two colours here, Grey Rose Mist and Violet Shadows, and kind of drop them into each other and just let them blend. So you can see here how that's started to kind of dry there. So it's going to create some lovely texture. So I'm going to switch to the other colour now. Just change it up a little bit. And just dot some little bits of that in there so it'll spread in. So that's a nice textured background that I wanted, but it's not quite dark enough. So I'm going to add another layer, but this time I'm going to add some glitter fragments into that. So this is the rainbow fragments, and I'm just mixing it in with the paint, and then just going to go over the whole thing again with another layer. and this one will have sparkle in it as well. I decided at this point to trace the outline because I do fancy having another go at this picture at some point in the future, and I want to experiment by painting it on watercolour paper and just seeing what the differences are. So I just made a quick copy of this with a pencil, and then I've got that for the future if I want to use it again. And now moving on to the moon, I've used this blue violet colour. It's a Polychromos pencil, and I've just kind of did shading right around the outside so that it looks a little bit more three-dimensional. But you can see how, because it's got the Daniel Smith watercolour ground, it's very, very rough. I do quite like that look. And then I'm just going around the outside with, I think it's a black pencil, the black, just to darken those edges. Then onto the face of the sun, I covered the whole thing with light yellow ochre, and I blended that in with cream in the middle. And I used some brown ochre and some burnt umber to add some shading. Then on the cheeks and the lips I used the medium flesh colour, and then for shading I used the burnt carmine, and I also used the medium flesh and the burnt carmine for the lips on the moon as well. So all these colours, I will put them in the description as well below the video. Okay, so onto these parts of the sun, which kind of looks like hair around the sun. I'm using metallic watercolours. I'm using two colours. The darker colour is Fool's Gold and the lighter one is Gold Iridescence. So I'm just taking each individual section one at a time, and I'm painting the Fool's Gold around the outside, leaving a gap in the middle. And then while it's still wet, I'm dropping in the Gold Iridescence as carefully as I can, and then I'm blending the edges of that, so just kind of like very lightly blending them into each other. And then I'm doing every other one so that they don't run into each other. I'm leaving a gap. I'm going all the way around, and then once that's dry, I'll do all the rest. Next, I'm going to do the kind of ornamental parts that are around the outside. So there's the border and then these kind of like fancy swirls. So I'm using the True Silver for this, and I'm using a tiny little brush that I got from Rosemary Co. It's a series, either 206 or 203, but I'll put it in the description, the video description. But it's a brilliant little brush. So that's all that painted on the stars as well. And then I'm filling in these little parts here that were left over with the colours that I used on the sun. So the gold iridescence and the Feels Gold. Thought I would just bring some of that yellow colour into the outside. And then the very last thing was to just go over all the black lines with a very sharp black pencil. Again, just the Polychromos pencil. And yeah, that just kind of like really finishes things off. So that's the finished page. I hope you like it. I hope you've followed along. And thank you very much for watching.